Hello, everyone, and welcome to WaveTalkers Live. My name is Chris Mattia. My amateur radio call sign is Whiskey 6 Alpha Hotel. Today, we're going to be talking about AI communications, ChatGPT, and kind of what is the current state of the art and where are we going in the future. Today, I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues, Dan, NR6V, and David, W0DHG. This is going to be a little bit of a different show than we've normally been doing, where we've been doing a lot of work with WinLink and amateur radio and all of those sorts of things. We are still going to focus on all of those things, but we are going to play a lot the entire time with AI technology, with ChatGPT specifically. And so I do know we are going to have quite a few people who are not amateur radio operators. And so we really welcome everyone to join us today for all of this. So with that, we are going to start off the normal way that we do our show, and that is to have everyone send in a WinLink check-in form. If you have access to WinLink, please send a WinLink check-in to us. Send it to all three of our call signs, W0DHG, NR6V, W6AH, and our tactical call sign, WaveTalkers. In the comment section, we'll walk through this again in just a second. In the comment section, let us know what impacts do you think AI will have on EmComm and ham radio in the future? Now, if you're not an amateur radio operator, please go ahead and answer this question for your own business, your life, whatever it happens to be, and let us know in the chat inside of YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, wherever you're watching the show. So with that, David, if you can pull you guys down, I'm going to jump over to the walk-up here. And I'll jump down into the corner. So if you have access to WinLink, then what we're going to do is what you want you to do is open up WinLink, click on the new message window, and then come over here and click the select template button. You're going to come down here to the standard templates. We'll just go ahead and click the plus sign for that. We're going to come down here to the general forms, give that a click. Come on down to the bottom, click on the WinLink check-in.txt, give that a double click. And it should open up in your web browser of choice. You want to make sure that you click the date and time field so it sets the current date and time for your particular location. Go ahead and say OK for that. Let us know this is going to be an exercise, the band and mode that you're going to be operating on. In the send to, this is where you would enter in all of our call signs. We'll go ahead and put that in the chat so that everyone is able to see that. To make it a little bit easier for you. Fill in the rest of the top of this information, and down here is the comment section. That's where you want to let us know what impacts that you think AI will have on emergency communications and ham radio in the future. You can also go ahead and take and paste your response into the chat on whichever platform that you're watching us on, so we have some ideas as to what you're thinking there. Go ahead and hit the submit button, and you'll get a couple of pop-ups to let you know that the message is kind of ready. I'm going to close this window here. It'll fill in the information in the message. You post that to your outbox, and then I'm going to come up here to the open session window, and I'll just go ahead and check to see if we have any check-ins coming in. And it looks like we have quite a few coming in here from around the world. I'll go ahead and download those later in the show. We're going to come back to this and we'll bring up the map and see where everyone is located. In the meantime, what I'd like to do is get into today's topic. And what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be exploring the present state of AI or artificial intelligence, and more specifically, a particular tool. Everything we're doing is available right now today, and we're going to be using a free version of this tool so that it's available for anyone to go into and kind of use as well. We're also going to be looking to the future to try and see what may be down the road. But I want to be clear about a few things. Everything we're doing today is being done live. I know what the first prompt is, and I know a little bit of the kind of flow as to what we're going to be doing. But the AI engine, this artificial intelligence engine, is going to be responding to me in real time. So I don't know what it's going to say, and we will find out as we go along together. The tool we're going to be using is a program that's by a company called OpenAI. Their website is openai.com. So if you do not already have an account, we'll go into it here in just a second, so you can see where you would go and sign up for an account. They're free in order to get in to it. And the specific program we're going to be using is something called ChatGPT, and we'll talk about what that is in a minute. Many people have asked, what is ChatGPT? What is all of this AI stuff? And as I've been diving deeply into this and really kind of thinking about it and reflecting on my own experiences with this technology, it occurs to me that what ChatGPT is at its core is an assistive technology for everyone. Whether you be in emergency communications, ham radio, any business, or just your own personal life, this is a tool that is quite helpful. And I should also mention that the image that's part of today's image here, the thumbnail for today, was created by AI, and that's created by a tool called Midjourney. So I also should mention that throughout today, I'm going to be doing the demonstration on a Mac. This works on all platforms. So I'm going to be using other assistive technologies, including Siri and the text-to-speech tools, so that we can make the AI speak for itself and start to get a sense as to how all of this stuff works and comes together. So I've seen a couple of messages in the chat letting me know that I'm not sharing my screen. Make sure you have the speaker view spotlighted for your own system, so that I'm nice and big instead of being in the grid view. Some of the folks in the chat can help you do that if you are unfamiliar with that. Okay, so with that, let me jump over to my demo machine. And this is the website, openai.com. If you if you wanted to go to it and you wanted to see kind of the where I'm going to be doing this demo from, and what you can do if you don't have an account, you can come down here to the learn more about GPT-4. I should mention also, GPT, this tool that I'm going to be using today, was just released initially to the public in November of last year, in November of 2022. And this week on Tuesday, they just released the next update, which is GPT-4. So I'll show, mostly I'm going to be working in GPT-3, but I'll show some of the differences between the two briefly. All right, so here you would click on the learn more about GPT, and then there is an option here to try on GPT Plus. You can go ahead and click on that and sign up for a free account. What I would encourage you to do, though, is watch along with the demo today, and then go back, set up your account, and then go in and explore it. Watch the replay on YouTube to be able to get more information. So once you sign up for an account and you get in, you don't have a whole lot of information that you need to give it. This is what ChatGPT looks like when you first open it up. It's a really simple application. On the left-hand side, you have your previous chats, your previous conversations you've been having. ChatGPT is a chat bot. It's basically a computer program that kind of runs and you're interacting with it. And the only UI, the only bit of user interface that you have to interact with it is this bottom field down here. And that lets you type in your questions to ask to the bot. Right now, I'm going to use initially Chat 3.5 default, which is 3.5, and then later I'll do a couple of demos where I show how the responses look differently with GPT-4. But I'm going to mostly use 3.5 because their servers are really being hit pretty hard right now. So let me start off by asking it if it would like to play along. I'm going to say hello. Thank you, Siri. Goodbye. I'm doing a demo. Get rid of my watch here for a second. I'm doing a demo of ChatGPT. Would you like to play along with me? And I will just hit return. So let me play back what it says.
First, I'd be happy to play along with you. What would you like to chat about?
Thus far, I have only, actually, you know what? Let me say, please introduce yourself. And thus far, I have not mentioned very much about you, but I did tell them that you are essentially a assistive technology for everyone.
Be happy to introduce myself. As mentioned earlier, I am ChatGPT, a large language model created by OpenAI. I am based on the GPT 3.5 architecture and have been trained on a vast amount of data to generate human-like responses to a wide range of prompts. My main goal is to assist people in generating human-like text, answering questions, and providing helpful information on a variety of topics. I am an AI-based tool designed to provide assistance to individuals across different fields such as education, research, customer service, and more.
Okay, so I just asked all of you what impact you think AI will have on emergency communications and ham radio. So let's ask the bot as well. So I'm just going to paste that prompt into here. So the same thing that I just asked all of you, and let's see what it comes back with.
To significantly impact emergency communications and ham radio in the future. For example, AI-powered systems can be used to analyze large volumes of data in real time, which can help to identify patterns and predict potential emergencies before they occur. This can help emergency responders to be better prepared and respond more quickly to emergencies.
Can't hear you, Chris.
This is going to be one of the challenges today because I got to turn on my microphone on and off as I'm going through doing this in order to have the computer read and have me read it as well. So it continues on to say that additionally, AI can help improve accuracy, speed of emergency communications. It gives some examples. In the ham radio community, AI can be used to improve the efficiency and accuracy of radio communications. Overall, the potential impact of AI on emergency communications and ham radio is significant and will be interesting to see how these technologies evolve in the coming year. So this is a natural language model, so I can interact with it like I would a person. So I could ask it, for instance, how about right now, today? So in its response, let me go ahead and play just a little bit of that.
Being used in emergency communications and ham radio to some extent today. For example, some emergency call centers are using AI-based systems to automatically transcribe and analyze emergency calls, which can help to identify critical information and dispatch emergency responders more quickly. Some ham radio enthusiasts are also experimenting with AI-based systems to improve the efficiency and accuracy of radio communication.
Again, Chris, we can't hear you.
Push that button, sorry. It goes on to say, additionally, AI-powered natural language processing algorithms are being used to improve the accuracy and automated emergency systems. But this is a brand new sort of technology. And so right now, it's kind of regurgitating some basic information that we may be asking it. What I would like to do is I want to go in and probe a little bit further into how it could be used and actively used by any of you. So I want to come up with a scenario. So a lot of us here are emergency communicators. Let's say that I need to send a WinLink message to the EOC, or the Emergency Operations Center, in Sacramento. I want to tell it a little bit more about my particular situation. So I'll let it know that I live in Southern California, and I need to send this I need to send it via radio. So need to send this via radio directly. So it knows I need to have some kind of communications that's going to go there. Let's figure out what frequency should we use. Now, I would like something that is, if you can enter some frequencies in the chat, somewhere, it can be outside of the ham bands. I would like this to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 megahertz up to, say, let's say about 13 megahertz. Just somebody can put some things in the chat. Oh, I see Steve Waterman said, oh, we're going to send a digital message. I need to send a digital to send a digital message via radio directly. We'll leave that in there. Any suggestions for frequency? Somewhere in the, maybe, I'm not seeing anything coming into the chat yet. So hopefully folks are following along with me. Let's say, well, we'll just come up with something. Let's say 7.22 222 megahertz. So we'll start off with just that. See what it comes back with. So it says sending a WinLink message to Emergency Operations Center in Sacramento, or to Sacramento from Southern California, can be done by the following general steps. So this is giving us connect your computer to your radio. Very, very general information. Let me come back up and let me edit that prompt. I'm just going to come back up here to the top, and I will edit that a little bit. Just click edit, and we'll say I'd like to send this. I'd like to send this via NVIS. We'll ask it more about this in a little while. And I'll say, I do not have an antenna set up currently. Can you please describe how I can make an antenna that is appropriate for this, for this message? I don't have a lot of money, so please suggest a way to build this using stuff I can get from my local hardware store. Let's see. I have a mast that is 20 feet tall. I got from Harbor Freight. And I have an ICOM 7300. Let's see what it comes back with this time. To make an NVIS antenna for sending WinLink traffic, 20-foot mast. First, I'm going to need to determine the frequency. It's given me that. It's given me the ideal length. It's told me to choose my wire and all of these sorts of things. So you can start to probe for a little bit of information from the bot, and it will come back with some kind of general information for you at first. Let me take this same prompt that I just wrote, and I'm going to copy just the same thing, and I'm going to go create a new chat. Only this time I'm going to do this chat in GPT-4. So this is one of the reasons I'm not going to be using this for much of this, is because their servers are currently overloaded. And so we can only send about 25 messages to this every 3 hours or so. So I'm just going to paste in the exact same prompt that I just asked to the 3.5, and let's see what 4 comes back with.
And VIS near vertical incident skywave. On the 7.222 MHz frequency using your ICOM 7300, you'll need an antenna that is suited for the 40-meter band, with a radiation pattern optimized for high-angle propagation. A simple and cost-effective solution is to build an inverted V-dipole antenna using materials easily found at your local hardware store.
Goes on to, here's a step-by-step guide to building an NVIS inverted V dipole antenna. It tells me the materials needed. It says I need some wire, 14 or 16 gauge stranded copper wire, 50 ohm coax cable, a PL259 connector, a 1-to-1 balun. It tells me I need some rope, some insulators, cable ties, electrical tape, soldering iron. Okay, all of these things look like stuff I should be able to get at the hardware store. It tells me the steps to do. So it tells me to cut the equal lengths of the wire, approximately 33 feet. It goes into a lot more detail, and it's still typing down here in the bottom. It's still going into more and more detail into this. So it's let me know all of that. So I'm gonna, instead of continuing to go on this ChatGPT-4, I'm gonna go back to 3.5, because that's what's readily available kind of everywhere right now. And instead of just taking the basic prompt, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to ask the bot to play a role for me. So I'm going to say, play the role of an expert teacher and a master of radio communications, electronics, radio communications and electronics. So I'll just hit that. And it comes back with letting me know that it's happy to play this role that it wants to do. And first of all, it tells me
it's important to understand the fundamental principles of radio communications. Radio waves are a form of electromagnetic radiation that can be used to transmit information over long distances. Radio waves are generated by an antenna, which converts electrical signals into radio waves that can be transmitted through the air.
Can't hear you,
Chris.
So now it's gotten itself in this role that it's going to play. So I'm just going to come back up in my chat thread, and I'm going to copy the exact same prompt that we gave it earlier. This again is in 3.5. So I'll copy that. I'm going to come down in the screen, down to the bottom prompt. Now that it knows this role, let's see what it comes back with this time. It's still playing it's still regurgitating back the same basic information. So let's tell it, hey, I told you to be a teacher. Thought I asked you to be a teacher. Please expand on your instructions for me.
Dear teacher, I'm happy to provide more details on how to build an effective NVIS antenna for sending your one-link message to the EOC in Sacramento using your ICOM 7320 feet mast. NVIS near vertical incident skywave. Antennas are designed to provide good short-range communication typically between 0 and 300 miles, by directing the signal almost straight up into the sky, where it bounces off the ionosphere and comes back down to Earth. This is a useful technique when trying to communicate over short distances, especially in mountainous or hilly terrain, or when line-of-sight communication is not possible.
So now it's going into a little more detail, and it's saying, please determine the frequency and length of the antenna. Let me see if I can get it to give me some more detail about how I would do that. So I can say, I should just say simply, please expand on 1. So it knows what it just answered to me. So we'll just say expand on 1. This time it goes into a little more detail about what it is, and then it comes down and it starts giving me the way to go in and start to calculate the length of the wires that are needed and how things need to be set up here. Let me see. It's important to note. Let's see what it asks down here at the bottom.
That the length of the wire is not the only factor that determines the effectiveness of your antenna. The height of your antenna above the ground, the placement of the insulators, and the type of balun used can all affect the performance of your antenna. It's important to follow proper tuning procedures to ensure the best possible signal strength and clarity.
I've got that. So let me tell it a little bit more about my situation. So let's say that I have the parts I need. I have the parts and I've built the antenna, but I can't figure out how to set the antenna up. How would I do that? Please give me specific instructions. You don't have to be as polite to it as I am. I'm trying to just be kind of nice here. So now it's going through and it's saying, sure, I'd be happy to provide you with some specific instructions on how to set up your NVIS antenna. So it goes through and it says, choose a suitable location, install the mast, attach your antenna, suspend the antenna, connect the balun, connect the coax cable, tune the antenna, test the antenna. Okay, there's still kind of big general ideas. So I'll say, okay, I follow those instructions, but I can't reach the EOC. Can you tell me which direction I should set the antenna up in? So it says, sure, I'd be happy to determine which direction to point your NVIS antenna dipole to reach the EOC in Sacramento. It says the direction you should point the antenna depends on the location of the EOC relative to your location. One way to determine the direction of use is to use a map. Assuming you're in Southern California, you should aim your antenna toward the northwest direction to reach Sacramento, which is located in the northeast. Okay, so it's kind of figured out just from the conversation where I am in Southern California, where Sacramento is, in addition to pointing the antenna in the right direction. Does it tell me how to actually point it? It doesn't look like it. So I can say, should I set the antenna up east-west or north-south? And I've just typed EW or NS. Since you're trying to communicate, it says where I'm trying to do this. You should set your NVIS antenna up in a north-south orientation. Which is not exactly correct. It really should be more of an east-west, so it's broadside. So when you say north-south, which direction should the wire run? So this is saying in the case, it's gotten off a little bit because it thinks that I'm not quite. I'm in Ventura. Let me see if it'll help with that. I'm in Ventura. Is that still correct? Oh, my apologies for the confusion. If you're located in Ventura, California, the direction you should point your NVIS antenna would be different. Since Sacramento is located to the northeast of Ventura, you should orient your antenna in a northeast direction. Okay. All right, so that's that. I'm still having trouble getting the connections. What suggestions for improvements would you suggest? It's telling me to check my connections, use quality materials, use a balun, check the SWR, seek assistance. Okay. I heard some folks at my local club say that putting a wire under the dipole on the ground could make a difference. Is that true? So now it goes in through and it's saying, yes, that is true. Putting a wire under the dipole in the ground is known as a ground wire or ground radial. It can improve it. And then it goes on to tell me more information about what that is. So it's continuing to kind of go a little bit further into the overall setup and continue to refine. So it's acting almost as a tutor for me to go back and ask questions, prompt it back and forth. As I've been doing this a lot this week, the responses I've been getting have varied. They've been usually pretty good. I'm not doing a great job of typing all of these in right now live, but here we go. So then the next one. So let's say, okay, so I've got connection. How would I configure my radio? So to configure your ICOM 7300 to work with your NVIS dipole antenna, you need to adjust the following settings. Select the correct frequency. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Set the mode for your communications, such as LSB, set the power level, adjust the built-in tuner. You know, these are good, but what I'm really curious about is what are the actual settings in the radio? So what are the required settings for my radio? Please be specific. It's not very cooperative with me right now. Let me try. Let me go up to ChatGPT 4 and see what it says. So what are the settings for an ICOM 7300 to operate WinLink? Oh, you know what? I didn't tell it what mode I was operating in. I've got to be a little more specific here. So let me go ahead and stop that generation and let it know that I'm using VARA HF to send the message. Please tell me the specific settings So saying I'm going to have to go through that. Here we go. So now it's telling me install the 7300 drivers on the computer, download and install them. I can ask for more specific information as I need to. It's going to tell me the type of cable that I need. Oh, here we go. Configure the 7300 settings. Press the menu button on the radio, go to set, connectors, set data mod off to USB, set data mod to USB, set the send to RTS. So it's going in, starting to tell me all of the specific settings that I would need to go in and configure this. So the newer model is definitely going much deeper into more of the information that I would need to be able to make this happen. So let me go ahead and stop that while it's going. I'm going to ask it some more kind of general terms that someone might have or somebody might ask. So let me ask it. I'll say, I mentioned, I heard something about lengthen to lower or something like that. Can you please explain to me how to better tune an antenna? So let's see what it says.
Antenna. You can adjust its length to achieve a better match for the desired frequency. This is particularly important for antennas like dipoles, which are sensitive to length adjustments. The length of the antenna determines the resonant frequency, and adjusting it helps to minimize the standing wave ratio SWR and ensure efficient power transfer from the transceiver to the antenna.
Chris, we can't hear you again.
So it goes through and it tells me how to measure the SWR. It tells me how to adjust the length of this. It tells me what the dipole, it tells me how to retest the SWR after I've made some adjustments, some fine tunings. So there's a lot of information that's built into this to start going through and helping you really kind of ask some questions, answer some things that are on there. I'm going to kind of skim over the chat a little bit to see if any other questions have come in here. Somebody, Lloyd asks, could help be set up on Linux or on a Quadra single board computer? So right now, ChatGPT is running in the cloud. It's being run by these big giant servers that are out there that are doing this. And in the world of emergency communications, one of the things that we would oftentimes be worried about, well, how could this be helpful if the internet was down? That's one of our big things that we're always kind of talking about. How would all this stuff work in those situations? And aside from this new update to this particular model, right now today, Stanford University, let me just jump over to a new tab here, and let me go to Stanford Alpaca. And here we go, Stanford Alpaca. So this was one of the other announcements that just came out this week. Stanford University just released an updated version of what they're calling Stanford Alpaca, which is a similar type of thing to ChatGPT, the thing that I've just been walking through showing you. However, this is slightly different. It's designed to run locally on a computer. It's not a cloud connected thing. It's currently set up just for research. and for non-commercial use, which would fall into the world of ham radio and so forth. And all of the code for being able to do this is all up on their GitHub. So you can go in and you can download the code, you can install it and compile it and so forth. It tells you how to step through training it and how to build out your model for doing it and how to use it. So there is directions that this can get to where it's not currently set up to be, or ChatGPT requires access to the internet. But if you were trying to build out a system that could be leveraged as a tutor, so this is something that is coming up on the horizon. What I've been mostly walking through here, though, is a step-by-step process of how an individual could use this to help you find information, refine your setup, maybe dig into some additional questions about how do you set up your radio. Maybe you're studying for a license exam and you have questions about this. Let's see if it knows about the license exam. I haven't actually asked this, so let's say what is actually, let's just ask it. I'm going to go back to the 3.5 because I don't know how many chats I've got left on this one. So are you familiar with the technician license exam? And it says, yes, it is familiar with the technician license exam. And it starts to, anytime you ask it a question, this is one of the things that I oftentimes will do. I'll start off by asking it a question. Are you familiar with this? Are you familiar with that? And usually what it does is it blurps out a whole bunch of information to let you know, like, oh yeah, I know all about that kind of stuff. That's super cool. And so it goes through and it tells us about the overall setup of it. It tells us about that it's got basic electronics, including Ohm's law, circuit diagrams. Hey, can you explain Ohm's law to me as if I was a fifth grader? So let's see what it comes up with.
Simple terms. Ohm's law is a basic rule in electricity that tells us how different parts of an electrical circuit are related to each other. It's named after a man named Georg Simon Ohm who discovered it back in the 1800s. Ohm's law says that the current flowing through a wire is directly proportional to the voltage applied across it and inversely proportional to the resistance of the wire. In simpler terms, this means that across a wire, the current flowing through it will also increase. If you increase the resistance of the wire, the current flowing through it will decrease.
So you can continue to ask for more detail on each of these points. You can then go in and ask it for more information about how this relates to something else. Let's see, what questions on the, so an important thing to know about this model, about ChatGPT, everything that it knows right now, first of all, it's not connected to the internet. I know that's a little weird because I'm interacting with it over the internet, but it's not actively searching the internet. It's not going out searching for information on the internet. This is a large language model that it has gathered a bunch of information and it's using probability and statistics to generate responses back based on the information that it knows. It also, the model that it's using is it was created and finalized in September of 2021. So if we ask it anything past September 2021, it doesn't know about it. So for instance, if I ask it, what can you tell me about the new Yaesu 710? Oh, and of course, it just made a liar out of me. Look at that. It did. It came up with. It was released in 2022. It's a high performance radio, so it has gotten some updates. When a couple of days ago, literally a couple of days ago, when our co-host and I were going back and forth doing some tests of this, we were asking about the differences between the 7300 and the 710. And we tried and tried and tried to get it to tell us information about the 710, and it didn't know anything about it. So this is all brand new, that it's starting to be able to do this right now. So that is kind of fun. It knows about a ridiculous number of things. And it can help guide you through a lot of different things. Let me bring it back a little bit to emergency communications. I know we have folks joining us from all over the world. And I know we have Franz joining us from Austria. We usually have Roland joining us from Germany. And I want to let them know that I really appreciate them joining us all of the time. So please let Franz and Roland know how much we appreciate them joining our WaveTalkers show every week. Please do this in German.
Kann das gerne machen. Hier ist die Nachricht auf Deutsch. Sehr geehrte Franz und Rolin. Ich möchte Ihnen im Namen unseres WaveTalkers-Teams meinen herzlichen Dank dafür aussprechen, dass Sie jede Woche an unserer Sendung teilnehmen. Ihre Beiträge und Einsichten haben unsere Sendung bereichert und wir schätzen Ihre wertvolle Mitwirkung sehr. Vielen Dank für Ihre wertvolle Zeit und Mühe bei der Vorbereitung und Teilnahme an unseren Sendungen. Wir freuen uns auf Ihre zukünftigen Beiträge und Diskussionen.
Okay, so it speaks different languages. It knows most all the languages around the planet. So you can ask it to translate something for you. Some of the responses that I've gotten from it when I've asked it about how it could be used inside of emergency communications, it's let me know that you're able to connect various different software to, say, a radio, like an SDR, and have the radio frequencies coming in, and it can listen to, AI can listen to what those are and do live translations of those. And you can have it change the language from one language into another to be able to do that. That's a little mind-blowing. And if we start to think of ways that this could be really helpful, especially as you're going through trying to communicate with folks and be able to work with other folks around the world, as a lot of as we do as ham radio operators, this opens up whole new worlds for us to be able to communicate and exchange. There's also not just all of the like really serious things that you can do with it. You can ask it to explain things to you in terms that say simple terms, to go through maybe something is too technical, you're not quite there in order to get the responses for that. You can ask it to give you more detailed or technical terms as you're going through asking it. It can do live translations into other forms of things. So one of the things that we asked it to do, I know Dan teaches a workshop on how to protect your equipment from EMPs. So I could ask it to say, please generate me a outline for a 1-hour workshop on protecting sensitive electronics from an EMP. So let's see what it comes up with. All right. So sometimes this will happen where you'll push in the response and it'll go up. I'm not sure what to do. You can try regenerating. Sometimes it's saying, oh, only one message at a time. So here's oftentimes what I'll do in this case. I'll oftentimes just copy the post and refresh the page. It'll come back up. Oh, it was doing it in the background. So that was just my browser that had some problems with it. So that's fine. So it says, sure, here's an outline for a 1-hour workshop on protecting sensitive electronics. It has an introduction here, a definition of what EMP is, understanding EMP, explanation of how it works, protecting electronics, overview of methods for protecting electronics, Faraday cages, and so forth. Let me see, can you expand on topic 3 in a detailed narrative?
Pulses EMPs can cause devastating damage to sensitive electronic equipment, from personal devices like phones and computers to critical infrastructure like power grids and communication networks. To protect your electronics from an EMP, there are several methods you can use.
On and tells us about setting up a Faraday cage, what a Faraday cage is. It lets us know about constructing a Faraday cage. And for all of these items, we can continue to ask for more and more detailed information, and it will keep going further. This is a tutor, your own private tutor, your own private teacher, your own private resource that will continue to answer questions as long as you want to continue asking them, and it will continue going as deeply as you would like. It is remarkable in that sense. There's also fun things you can do with it. So let me take this same response that I just got. I'm just going to come back up here and I'm going to edit this where it just says, can you please explain a topic as a detailed narrative? I'm going to hit the edit button on that, and I'm going to come up here in the voice of Shakespeare. And submit. And give me a second to let it finish running, and then we will have it read it out for us.
We shall now delve into the intricate art of protecting our most delicate electronics from the dangers of the dreaded EMP. As we all know, this most potent force can render our precious devices into naught but a pile of useless scrap metal. But fear not, for there are methods and materials to shield against such devastation. Enter the Faraday cage, a most wondrous creation of science that blocks the electromagnetic pulses from reaching our electronics. Constructed of a conductive material, such as copper or aluminum, these cages can be fashioned in various shapes and sizes to house our most prized devices. But take heed, for even the slightest gap in the cage can allow the EMP to penetrate and destroy. Hence, we must ensure that the cage is well sealed and free from any gaps or cracks. For those without access to such cages, there are still other methods of protection. The use of shielding materials, such as conductive fabric or foil, can also provide a shield against EMP. These materials can be fashioned into pouches or wraps to envelop our electronics and keep them safe from harm. But let us not forget the importance of other forms of protection, such as surge protectors and power filters. These devices can help safeguard against power surges and voltage spikes that may result from an EMP event. Thus, fair friends, let us not take lightly the threat of the EMP, but rather arm ourselves with the knowledge and means to protect our cherished electronics from its destructive force.
So that's kind of fun. Please let everyone know why ham radio is so helpful and useful in today's modern society. please make this fun and exciting to generate a lot of laughs. So let's see if it knows how humor works.
And gather round and let me tell you why ham radio is the bee's knees, the cat's meow, and the cream in your coffee all rolled into one. You see, in today's modern society, where we're all glued to our smartphones and computers, ham radio is a refreshing throwback to a simpler time, when you didn't need Wi-Fi or Bluetooth to connect with people. With ham radio, you can talk to folks all over the world without having to rely on those pesky cell towers or internet connections. You don't need no stinking Wi-Fi password or data plan to get your chat on. Plus, it's a great way to get out of the house and into the fresh air. Say goodbye to those boring Zoom meetings and hello to the great outdoors. But wait, there's more. Ham radio can also be a lifesaver in times of emergency. When all other forms of communication fail, ham radio operators are the unsung heroes who step up to the plate and provide vital information and support to those in need. It's like being a superhero, but without the spandex costumes, although, hey, you do you. And let's not forget about the fun factor. Ham radio operators love nothing more than geeking out over their equipment, swapping stories about their most epic contacts, and participating in all sorts of cool events and contests. It's like a secret society, but without the funny hats, although again, you do you. So there you have it, folks. Ham radio is not just a hobby, it's a way of life. So get out there, fire up that radio, and join the fun. Who knows, you might just make some new friends, save a life, or discover a whole new world of excitement and adventure.
So hopefully, as we've walked through this today, you've gotten a little bit of a sense of where we are right now today. This is still in its infancy. I mentioned at the beginning of this that ChatGPT was just released to the public in November of 2021. It's currently November 2022, and it is currently March 2023. So that's just a few months that this has been out. And the new version that we looked at, a couple of those demos, was literally just released on Tuesday of this week. So we've not had a whole lot of time to get in and really kind of kick the tires on this, see where all of the edges are, what you're able to do. That's where we're at right now today. And we've got a long way to go in the future. There are tons of questions that all of this stuff, I'm sure, are raising for all of you. What I would like to do is I want to check in on the check-ins that we had. We'll do a quick little wrap up, and then for all of those of you who are inside of the Zoom, we're going to do the after party. We're going to open up the mics and we're going to take in a bunch of questions. We'll enter in a bunch of your prompts as to what you want to see that it can do, and we'll kind of dive into that. So that's where we're at right now. Let me jump over back into my computer. I'm going to do one more quick check of the check-ins to see where we're at. And it looks like we have quite a few more that have come in. We'll go ahead and download those. Then we'll bring up the map and see where everyone is coming in from. If you have found any of this helpful, interesting, please, if you're watching it on any of the social media, consider hitting the like button to like the video. Make sure to leave us some comments. If you're really finding what we're doing helpful and useful, then please consider going on to our WaveTalkers website at wavetalkers.com and using the Buy Us a Coffee link to help us keep all of this infrastructure up and going and help keep the show running to keep us doing this. So it's done a quick check. I will do one more quick check to see if any other ones did come in, because sometimes that'll happen. Yep, there we go. We've got another one that just came in. And since that one came in, we'll do one more quick check of that. There we go. And let's go ahead and bring up the map to see where folks are coming in from. So I'll bring this up. Here's the WinLink check-in form. Now, these are all messages that I've received. I'll go ahead and hit the display map button. And it looks like we're already zoomed into Southern California. Let me check my filters and make sure. Yeah, we're only looking at the check-ins from the past 24 hours. We've done quite a few shows that kind of go into exactly what we're looking at here. Let me do a quick rollover of a few of these folks to make sure that folks can see that your check-in was received, to make sure that you are seeing that. There's Craig over there. I see you. Thank you very much for joining. Let me go ahead and zoom out a little bit, and we'll see where the check-ins are coming from. I'm actually going to go ahead and zoom all the way out so we can see all of North America here. Oh, what the heck? Let's just zoom all the way out and get to the whole planet. See where we've got our check-ins coming from. And it looks like we have Terry joining us down here in New Zealand. We have some folks joining us from the Philippines. Hey, thanks a lot for checking in there. ChatGPT does know your native language as well, and it can speak it back out, which is a lot of fun. Here's Franz and Roland joining us from Austria and Germany. Thanks for joining us over there. Let me zoom in. Hopefully the German was acceptable to be able to help out. Let's come up here. We've got Victor Echo 3 Yankee X-Ray joining us from Canada. Yeah, it does speak French as well. So if you, I know Canada is bilingual, both English and French. So that's super helpful. And I'll just roll over a bunch of these right here. So folks who have sent in their check-ins can hopefully be able to see that their check-in was received. We did get it. I want to make sure that everybody's able to check in on that. There's Mr. Waterman joining us there in the middle of Tennessee. Great to see you out there. Come up here, over there to that one. We're going to come down here into a couple of stations joining us in Kansas today. That's pretty cool. And some new stations. There's King joining us down here in Texas, and stations joining us. I saw there are a lot of these down here in Las Vegas, so I may zoom back in on that area to make sure everyone's able to see yourself in those. We've got quite a few up here in the Pacific Northwest and in Oregon. Let me zoom back in a little bit to the Southwest, where we've got a station here in Utah that's joining us. Looks like just quite a few stations here in the Vegas area that are joining us today. It's a lot of fun to see those. And all these stations here, KN6LOA, hopefully you're doing well with all the snow that's been coming in. Dan, same thing up there in Central California, Fresno area. We've been just buried in the weather here in the atmospheric rivers here in Southern California. So as a quick walkthrough of all of those, let me go ahead and bring myself back up into the studio, and we'll bring the guys back up onto screen to kind of get any last thoughts that you guys would have. And there's David, and Dan is in here as well. Here he is. David, W0DHG, any thoughts about this demo, about AI, ChatGPT, kind of what's going on with all this new stuff?
I think it's kind of amazing. It's very new technology. I'm interested to see where it goes and where it leads us. I know there was an earlier comment that I too hope it doesn't end up to be like Skynet or maybe By and More, or By and Large. By and Large, that was the movie reference there. Interesting, some good responses. It's amazing how quickly it can interpret into a different language, turn it into a Shakespearean sonnet, or just provide detailed information on something you ask it about. It's cool.
Thanks, Dan. What about you? What kind of thoughts do you have for today?
I think it's absolutely fascinating and quite a bit scary. While you were doing that, talking about the NVIS dipole, I asked it to elaborate on the radiation pattern of a half-wave dipole on 40 meters in an inverted V, and it went into quite a bit of detail about how the radiation pattern changes in an inverted V and why it's so ideal for use in NVIS. And I think it's right. It's right to my general knowledge anyway, and I have to look a little closer. But for folks trying to set a new radio up for WinLink, might put us out of business. I don't know. it is, I think, really helpful on that. And I think it's one of those things where we're going to have to learn how to ask the right questions, just as we did with Google. Your results are going to vary depending on the quality of your question. And if you can ask it a good, well-formed question, I think you're going to get a very interesting response.
You really hit on the core of this, and I realized as I was going through this today, I'm trying to manage all the tech that's here in the studio and kind of walk through all of this information. And as the biggest key that I've found as I've been interacting with is this: it's all about the question that you ask, how well you ask the question, how much information that you provide to it to get the response that you're needing to be helpful for what you're trying to answer. And constantly going back and forth to ask it for more information, ask it for more details. You can ask it to do to play different roles with you, and it will focus its attention, in, for lack of a better term, on that particular role and that what it came up with. I did want to mention, maybe Dave, you can pull you guys down for just one more second, because I did want to mention that I've set up a new part of the WaveTalkers site, and I'll link this up. We'll put the link in the chat if you haven't already seen it. It's going to be off the resources page inside of WinLink, or inside of the WaveTalkers site. And it's going to be an introduction and a lot of the information that we're working through about AI in ham radio and in emergency communication. So what I'm documenting inside of here, I'm documenting the various different prompts that I've given it. So for instance, speculate on what innovations AI could bring to ham radio and how ham radio operators could take advantage of AI. And then what I've gone through is I've detailed in what its responses were to me. And it gave quite a bit of more detailed information than what I was able to generate from it today. Clearly, this was a better prompt than what I used earlier today. And then for many of these items, what I've been doing is I've gone in and created a little bit of drill down where I've asked it more details to give me more details on that particular topic. So for instance, an introduction to hypothetical AI antenna optimization and automated tuning. That's one of the responses that it gave me. So I plugged that into the site, and you can go in on your own to kind of read this in a little more detail. And on this one, I've gone in and I've said, okay, here's how I'm going through testing the model. So if you go in and you say here's how I'm beginning to test it, and I've documented out, I ran through an entire hypothetical situation where I have an antenna set up and I describe what that antenna characteristics are. Here's where I go through and I say, are you familiar with the RF interference caused by power lines? And it regurgitates more information for me. I went into then start to describe my specific situation that I have and how I'm trying to optimize this antenna. And I had it work with me to come up with ways that I could maybe optimize what kinds of settings, what kinds of changes I might be able to do in order to get my antenna to work a little bit better, because I have an antenna that's not in an ideal kind of situation. And so I've gone through and documented. So I'd encourage you to go onto our WaveTalkers website and read that. I'll post the link here in the chat to make sure that folks are able to get it. And I'll add all of the connection links not long after the show today, so you're able to get in and find this. And you can read through all of that information that's up there. And I'm continuing to go through and add more detail into all of these other areas. I've been really kind of blown away as to what this really is capable of when you sit back, take your time, read the responses that it's giving you, formulate new questions for it, and ask the questions and get those responses. As I walked through the demonstration for this antenna optimization one, I wanted to make sure that I used frequencies that were well outside of the ham bands, because I want to make sure that this was not just regurgitating information that was finding online to be able to just spit something back out. This really is, no kidding, information that's being constructed live by this AI. And in fact, when we got on earlier in the week to kind of demo this with the co-host, it was literally the first thing after I went through a couple of different prompts that David asked me to do. He's like, hey, select that line right there. It listed out a whole bunch of things in a particular order. He's like, okay, take that, copy it. Let's go into Google and search for that in quotes, because I want to see where it found that information. And we couldn't find it anywhere on the internet. It really did come up with all that all entirely on its own. So I encourage you guys to set up an account, go in and play with this, explore it. And as we get into the after party, I'd really like to hear more about what your thoughts are. If you're watching on any of the social media channels, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, thanks so much for joining us on those different platforms. Be sure to like the video and leave us some comments in there. We'll read through those and respond to them as we go through. So with that, let's wrap up the live stream portion of this, and then we'll move into the after party. So thanks a lot for joining us, everyone. I'm Chris Mattia, W6AH. Thanks for learning with us. 7-3. All right.